Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Okay, so I started thinking about something. You know, right now, Iraq is mostly importing. So this is the time when a country would want to increase their exchange rate. This gives them more purchasing power. But that's not what is happening over there in Iraq. In 2020, we know they almost went bankrupt and they ended up devaluing their currency. But after about a year, they increased it again, not to where it was. We used to be able to get 1,190 dinars for every dollar. Now we're getting what? 1,310 dinars for every dollar? It sounds good, but the truth of the matter is we need it to go in the other direction. The less amount of dinars we get per dollar, the better it is for our investment, okay? Eventually, what you want it to do is get to the point where it costs you more dollars than it does dinar. You know, you want to spend $2 for one dinar. That's the direction we want to go in. But as I read articles where people are concerned for Iraq because of the fluctuations in oil prices, I was wondering if it made sense for them to increase the exchange rate of the dinar instead of devaluing the dinar to help make up for the difference in the prices per barrel of oil. Did that make sense in any way, shape, or form economically? And sure enough, there's an answer. So let's get into this. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. You can follow me over on other platforms. I do have my own group over on Facebook called Pimpy's Investment Chat. Over here, we do talk about gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, as well as foreign currency investments. So head on over here and join us. It's free to do so. In here, I do post updates. If I should get on suspension from YouTube or get removed from YouTube and you want to know what happened to me, I'll let you know right here in this group. I can be found on Twitter, MeWe, YouTube, and the cool thing about YouTube, if you come over here and you join and you find my channel, I got videos going back, I believe, a couple years. So if you want to see some older videos that I have on Nasera, Jacera, gold, silver, cryptos, come on over here and join. Look me up and check out my videos. You can also find me on Odyssey. Catch me on Rumble. When I say that the links for all these are down below in the description, some of you don't know what I'm talking about. It's real simple. Just go down to the bottom right here of any of my videos. See this? This is the description. Hit show more. And there are all the links to all the platforms I just spoke about. So the issue when it comes to oil is this. Whenever it drops below what Iraq has scheduled in its budget per barrel of oil, then they end up running a deficit and they have to borrow money. That's not what we want. So I was wondering, why don't they just increase the exchange rate? This would give them more purchasing power and would help them as far as dealing with the deficit. Because if your exchange rate is higher, then you have more purchasing power. Okay, we know that in the past, when they had a deficit, they ended up devaluing the currency. So does it ever make sense to increase the exchange rate? So I went ahead and looked this up and did some research on this. So here's what I got. Should Iraq increase the dinar exchange rate if oil prices drop? In the context of a drop in oil prices, it's important to consider the impact on Iraqi's economy. Now, I'm going to stop right here and say something. How many times have I told you the decision to do an increase or a decrease on the Iraqi dinar really depends on how it affects the economy? I said this a million times. And I can't tell you how many times I heard other people go, Pimpy don't know what he's talking about. It doesn't affect the economy. Yes, it does. Every decision that they make when it comes to the Iraqi dinar absolutely positively affects the economy. So before they can make a decision to either devalue the currency or increase the value of the currency, they have to sit back and figure out how it affects the economy. And that's exactly what I found whenever I did my research. So it said it's important to consider the impact on Iraq's economy and its currency, the dinar. Iraq is heavily reliant on oil exports for its revenue, and fluctuations in oil prices can significantly affect its economy and currency exchange rate. When oil prices drop, it can lead to a decrease in Iraq's foreign currency reserves and overall economic challenges. Now, the cool thing is, between the time when they went ahead and decreased the value of the Iraqi dinar, they didn't have a whole lot of foreign currency reserves. Not like now, Now they have a ton of foreign currency reserves. I bring that up because I do believe that makes a difference in whether they decide to increase the value or decrease the value if oil drops down below their targeted amount per barrel. In response to this situation, there are several factors that need to be taken into account when considering whether Iraq should increase the dinar exchange rate. Impact of oil prices on Iraq's economy. Iraq's economy is highly dependent on oil exports, with oil revenues accounting for a significant portion of the country's GDP. A drop in oil prices can lead to a reduction in government revenue, impacting public spending and investment in infrastructure and social programs. This can also affect the stability of the Iraqi dinar and its exchange rate. This is why I say that their economy is not stable, nor is their currency. They're way too reliant on oil. If the price of oil drops, it affects them. It affects them in a big way, not a small way. When 95% of your budget is reliant on oil sales, then obviously a drop in the value of the oil is going to affect them altogether. Exchange rate policy considerations. In response to a drop in oil prices, Iraq may consider adjusting its exchange rate policy. An increase in the dinar exchange rate could help mitigate some of the negative effects of lower oil prices. Yeah, you heard that right. But it really just depends on where they stand economically. So if oil prices do drop down between the targeted rate per barrel, could increase in Iraqi dinar help them? Yes, it could. But there are things you have to take in consideration. By increasing the exchange rate, Iraq could potentially stabilize its currency and manage inflationary pressures that may arise from a decrease in oil revenues. And this really depends a lot on how much they have in foreign currency reserves. Inflation and import cost. A drop in the oil prices may lead to inflationary pressures in Iraq's economy. If the cost of imports rises due to a weaker dinar, it could further exacerbate inflation. However, increasing the dinar exchange rate could help offset some of these inflationary pressures by making imports relatively cheaper. Yes, you heard that right. The increase in the value of the Iraqi dinar means the imports that they pay for would be cheaper because they would have more purchasing power. And in this case, I think that would be the right move, and let me tell you why. Iraq is mostly an import country. They rely way too much on other countries providing goods for them. An increase in the Iraqi dinar would make those goods cheaper. Had they been a country that's more export, then a higher dinar would hurt them. That's why when I spoke about the Vietnam dong, the reason why they keep their currency so cheap over there in Vietnam, because it makes their exports cheaper and more desirable to buyers. Because they don't have their crap together and they're still trying to rebuild. So increasing the value of the exchange rate would help them go a long way. It would give them more purchasing power and imports would be a lot cheaper. Export competitiveness. On the other hand, an increase in Iraqi dinar exchange rate could potentially impact Iraq's export competitiveness. A stronger dinar would make Iraq's goods more expensive for foreign buyers, potentially leading to a decline in export volumes. This could further strain Iraq's economy, particularly if it relies on non-oil exports to diversify its revenue sources. That's why they have to strike that happy balance somewhere in there. Now, I know that Iraq does export goods to other countries, but I'm not sure at what level of exporting they're doing versus importing. It would seem to me that they are importing so much more that their country ends up in trade deficits because of this. By increasing Iraqi dinar, it would eliminate a lot of the trade deficits for those countries that they import from. The Balancing Act. Ultimately, the decision to increase the dinar exchange rate in response to drop in oil prices involves a delicate balancing act. It requires careful consideration of various economic factors, including inflation, import cost, export competitiveness, and overall economic stability. The Iraqi government would need to weigh these factors carefully before making any adjustments to the exchange rate. This is what I often talk about. People are all, well, they got so much oil, they should just automatically do this. I go, they have to take a lot more in consideration than that. Well, they can't go into the World Trade Organization with this rate. They have to increase it. That's not true. There's a lot of other factors involved, and those other people out there talking about the Iraqi dinar don't know their butt from a hole in the ground, so they don't explain to you why, one way or the other, why the Iraqi dinar's exchange rate should increase or decrease depending on what situation Iraq is in. So in conclusion, while there are potential benefits to increasing the dinar exchange rate in response to dropping oil prices, there are also significant risks and trade-offs that need to be considered. The decision should be based on comprehensive analysis of Iraq's economic condition and long-term economic goals. This is why you're not going to see Iraq wake up one day and give you a 3.22 rate. They're never going to reinstate it. They have to do it in increments. They have to pay attention to how it affects their economy, how it affects Iraqi people, how it affects their budget overall. Since Iraq is a major import nation, they should at least consider increasing the Iraqi dinar slightly if they start to run into issues with oil prices. I wouldn't decrease the value of the Iraqi dinar again, not again. This would really upset the Iraqi people. This would cause a lot of in-country turmoil, uprisings. It would be bad. They're better off now that they have a lot in both gold and foreign currency reserves. They're better off slightly increasing the Iraqi dinar to make up for the difference in the budget. Anyways, you guys let me know what you think. I look forward to hearing from you. I'm out.